You breathe in. You breathe out. 17 times a minute. 1,000 times an hour. You've done it 600 million times this year without thinking about it once. That breath, the one you just took, contains 21% oxygen. Your brain would shut down in minutes without it. Your blood would turn blue. Your cells would suffocate. But for the first 2 billion years of Earth's existence, that oxygen wasn't there. Not a single molecule of it. The air was made of nitrogen, carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and ammonia. The same gases that come out of a volcano. If you stepped outside 4.5 billion years ago, you would die in one breath. Not from heat. Not from pressure. From the air itself. And yet, something was alive down there. The textbook version goes like this. Earth formed 4.54 billion years ago from a swirling disk of dust and gas around the young sun. For the first 600 million years, it was a hell's cape, molten surface, no atmosphere, constant asteroid bombardment. They call this period the Hadean, named after Hades. Hell. Then things cooled. Oceans formed. And somewhere between 3.8 and 3.5 billion years ago, life appeared, simple single-celled organisms, sliming around in warm, shallow water. The standard story says life needed hundreds of millions of years of calm, stable conditions before it could begin. It's a clean story. It makes sense. It's in every textbook. But it's probably wrong. In 2017, a geochemist named Martin Whitehouse at the Swedish Museum of Natural History published a study that quietly shattered the timeline. He had been studying zircon crystals from the Jack Hills Formation in Western Australia, the oldest known minerals on Earth. These tiny crystals are 4.4 billion years old. They're the only fragments that survive from Earth's first 150 million years. Whitehouse's team used a technique called ion microprobe analysis. They shot a beam of charged ions at the crystals, vaporizing microscopic layers one at a time, and measured the chemical composition of each layer. What they found inside those crystals was oxygen. Specifically, a form of oxygen called oxygen 18, concentrated in a way that only happens when liquid water is present. For 0.4 billion years ago, Earth was supposedly a ball of magma. And there was water. Not oceans. Not yet. But pools. Ponds. Maybe shallow seas. Liquid water existed on Earth's surface almost from the very beginning. The Hadean hellscape lasted maybe 100 million years, not 600 million. The cooling happened fast. And that changes everything. Because if water was there 4.4 billion years ago, then the window for life to begin wasn't hundreds of millions of years. It was tens of millions. Maybe less. But that's just the setup. What came next is harder to believe. In 2017, Matthew Dodd and Dominic Papineau at University College London published a paper in the journal Nature that made the entire field of origin of life research stop and stare. They had been examining rock samples from the Novwojitic Greenstone Belt in Quebec, Canada. These rocks are ancient. How ancient? At least 3.77 billion years old. Possibly 4.28 billion years old. They are among the oldest sedimentary rocks ever found on Earth. Inside those rocks, Dodd and Papineau found microscopic structures. Tiny tubes and filaments, some as thin as 10 microns across, made of iron-rich minerals. They were arranged in patterns that looked almost identical to structures made by modern bacteria living around hydrothermal vents at the bottom of the ocean today. The team spent 2 years ruling out every non-biological explanation. Temperature, pressure, chemical precipitation, abiotic mineral growth. None of it matched. The structures were fossils, microbial fossils, and if the 4.28 billion year date holds, they were made by living organisms that existed just 260 million years after Earth formed. To put that in perspective, complex life, animals, plants, anything bigger than a single cell, didn't appear until 600 million years ago. That's 3.7 billion years after these microbes. Humans showed up 300,000 years ago. That's a rounding error. But those microbes? They were there almost from the beginning. As soon as the rock cooled, as soon as the water pooled, life showed up, almost like it was waiting. But that's just the first half of the story. The next discovery makes it even stranger. In 2018, Tara Jokic at the University of New South Wales published a study in the journal Nature Communications. She had been exploring a site called the Dresser Formation in Western Australia. 3.48 billion year old rocks that preserve the remnants of an ancient hot spring system. What Jokic found weren't just fossils. She found stromatolites, layered rock structures built by communities of microbes. But these weren't in a deep-sea vent. They were in a terrestrial hot spring. On land, 3.48 billion years ago. This matters because for decades, the leading theory of life's origin was the deep-sea vent hypothesis. The idea that life began in the dark, pressurized depths of the ocean around volcanic chimneys. It was elegant. It explained why life could exist without sunlight. But Jokic's discovery suggested life had already colonized land by 3.48 billion years ago, which means it had probably started earlier, somewhere else, and then spread. Life wasn't crawling out of one lucky vent. It was everywhere. On land, in water, in conditions we would call lethal. And here's where it gets truly uncomfortable. In 2021, a biophysicist named Shoichi Toabe at Tohoku University in Japan published a study that reframed what life even means. He wasn't looking at fossils. He was looking at a single protein, a molecular machine called F180pase, that exists in every living cell on Earth. Every bacterium, every plant, every cell in your body. Toabe used optical tweezers, literal lasers that can grab and manipulate individual molecules, to watch this protein work in real time. He found that it doesn't just follow the laws of thermodynamics. It exploits them. The protein captures thermal energy from its environment, random molecular vibrations, and converts it into mechanical work. It does this by a process Toabe called information-to-energy conversion. The protein is essentially a tiny engine that runs on noise, on chaos, on the random motion of molecules around it. This changes the picture entirely, because it means the fundamental machinery of life doesn't need calm, stable, perfect conditions. It needs the opposite. It needs chaos. It needs heat. It needs the kind of turbulent, violent, messy environment that existed on Earth 4.4 billion years ago. You were told life is fragile, that it needs perfect conditions. A Goldilocks zone. Not too hot, not too cold. But the evidence says life is the opposite of fragile. Life is the most aggressive, opportunistic, relentless force this planet has ever produced. It didn't wait for things to calm down. It moved into the lava. It colonized the acid. It turned volcanic chaos into fuel. Life didn't appear on Earth because conditions became perfect. Life appeared because conditions were violent enough to power it. And that should change how you think about everything. Because we've been looking for life on other planets by searching for perfect conditions. Mars, Europa, exoplanets in habitable zones. We're looking for calm, for stability, for Earth-like. But Earth wasn't Earth-like when life started here. Earth was a nightmare. And life didn't care. You're breathing right now, 17 times a minute. That oxygen in your lungs was produced by bacteria 2.4 billion years ago. Bacteria that were so successful they poisoned the entire planet with their waste product and caused the first mass extinction in Earth's history. The oxygen you're breathing is the residue of a microbial genocide. The cells in your body are running the same molecular engines that were spinning in volcanic pools 4 billion years ago. The same protein, the same trick, turning chaos into order, turning noise into life. You are not separate from that ancient world. You are its continuation. Every breath you take is a 4-billion-year-old reflex. Every heartbeat is powered by machinery that was built in hell. You think you live in a calm, stable world. You think life needs safety, comfort, the right temperature, the right atmosphere. But you are alive because something 4 billion years ago decided that fire was a good place to start. The next time you breathe in, really think about what just happened. You just inhaled the waste of a bacteria that conquered a planet, and your body turned it into a thought. That's not fragile. That's not lucky. That's the most dangerous thing in the universe. And it's inside you, right now.